Hello and welcome everyone to our webinar today on mindful eating and weight management, nourishing your body and mind. I am Siti Zulaikha, a Naluri Dietitian. I graduated from International Islamic University Malaysia with Bachelor of Dietetics, and I'm also scope certified in weight management by World Obesity Federation. And today, we'll dive into the powerful practice of mindful eating and how it can positively impact weight management in our weight management. So, in our fast paced world today, adopting mindful eating habits can be transformative for our relationship with food and our overall well being. So, let's embark on this journey of mindful nourishment together. Just simple housekeeping. Number one, you can always ask your questions, participate in polls, and share your thoughts from the chat box on the right of your screen. You can type me at CT before writing your questions to direct your questions to me. If you want to remain anonymous, be sure to tick the send private message. And then number three, handouts will be available to download on the tab on the right hand side of the screen, and this presentation will be shared as a PDF document at the end of this webinar. Understanding mindful eating. So as we go into this topic, I would just like to share a little bit of story with you. So once upon a time, there was a young woman named Anne. So Anne was, like most of us, she's always on the go, juggling work, social commitments, and a never-ending to-do list. And with her hectic lifestyle, eating had become just another item to check off her list. One day, Anne stumbled upon an article about mindful eating. So, being curious, Anne decided to give it a try. She sat down for lunch, closed her eyes, and took a deep breath. She picked up a strawberry. She noticed its vibrant red hue, and as she bit into it, a burst of sweetness just flooded her senses. She savored the moment, feeling gratitude for this delightful gift from nature. And with each meal, and embraced mindful eating. She tastes the crispness of fresh greens, the warmth of a bowl of soup, and the comfort of a homemade dessert. So gradually, right, something magical happened. The meals transformed into a moment of joy and connection. So as weeks passed, Anne actually noticed a change within herself. She felt more attuned to her body's cues and recognizing when she's hungry and when she's full. And with mindful eating, right, she no longer craved mindless snacking, but embraced nourishing choices. So this newfound approach in Anne's life to eating actually also spilled over into other aspects of her life. She began to slow down, appreciate the little things, and find joy in simple pleasures. In the end, Anne learned that mindful eating is not just about food, it's actually a gateway to mindful living. So, with each mindful bite, she found a deeper connection with herself and the world around her, savoring every moment of her journey. And so with that, I just want to engage a little bit with all of you and see what do you guys think. We have poll number one. You can see at the right hand side of the screen, we have poll section. You can go to the poll. So how often do you practice mindful eating in your daily life? Wow, we can see that a lot of people are answering. Some people answer always. Great. Most of us answered sometimes, and some never tried mindful eating, but it's okay. Yeah. Okay. So we have half of our audience answering, and we can see that the verdict is that I'm glad that most of our audience today they at least practice mindful eating sometimes, right? So now let's go to the second poll. How often do you experience guilt? Or, oh, I think the poll is a different one, Mika. Oh, yes, this one. Do you often eat in front of a screen or while engage in other activities? Yes, frequently. Because a lot of us, most of us are employees. I can imagine that sometimes even when we have our lunch or when we eating, we are still in front of our desktop, in front of our laptop, just to make sure that we are doing our job while also make sure that we are nourishing ourselves. Uh, okay, so most of the answers actually vote for yes frequently. So most of us actually eat in front of a screen or while engaging in other activities. Sometimes we eat while watching YouTube or watching TVs, right? So today we're going to address all of those things. So, what is mindful eating? Mindful eating is actually not just a diet, it's actually a way of life, yeah, that allows us to connect deeply with our food and our bodies. It involves being fully present and attentive during meals, savoring each bite, and acknowledging the experience without judgment. And by practicing mindfulness, while eating, we can transform actually our relationship with food from a rush and mechanical act to a mindful and pleasurable one. So imagine this scenario. You are sitting down to enjoy a meal after a long and busy day. Your plate is actually filled with vibrant colors of food. Enticing aromas waft through the air, and your taste buds are eagerly anticipating the flavor, right? But here's the questions. How often do you truly experience these moments when you eat? That's where mindful eating comes into play. It's not just about what's on your plate, it's a journey that invites you to engage all your senses and immerse yourself in the experience of eating. Think of it as an opportunity to step away from the hustle and bustle of life and give your food and yourself the attention that they deserve, right? Mindful eating also means being fully present at the table, taking the time to savor each bite, feeling the textures, appreciating the flavors, and even acknowledging the thoughts that may arise while you are eating your food. It's about bringing awareness to how hungry or satisfied you feel and honoring your body's cues. So, have you ever tried mindful eating and what was it like for you? And when you do mindful eating, and for those who answered that sometimes they do mindful eating, and for those who answer always right, did you notice any changes in the way you experience your meals when you mindfully eating? Feel free to share your thoughts in the chat. I want to rate if you, some of you have tried mindful eating before. Do you feel any changes when you do that? Mm. So some of us said that Nabila said tend to make healthier choices. Mariam said never done it before. Miss Paul said she practiced mindful eating when I am on holiday. That's great. That's great. Okay, so thank you for answering. So now let's go into what is mindful eating versus mindless eating, right? So now let's do a little self reflection. Picture you are sitting at the table with your favorite meal in front of you, but as you take your bite, your attention is pulled away by your phone buzzing with notifications, um, or your mind actually drifts to your never-ending to-do list. How many times have you caught yourself eating this way? Is it a familiar scenario? So don't worry. If this feels relatable to you, just know that you are not alone. Now, here's the intriguing part. How does it feel when you're eating mindlessly, preoccupied by other things? And on the flip side, right? Let's just think for a moment. When you eat with attention and focus, how does that experience actually differ? So that's where mindful eating shines. It's like pressing a pause button on the chaos around you and around your work, and actually immerse yourself fully in the act of eating. Okay, so do you know that there's actually a mind and body connection when we eat, right? I want to dive deeper into this fascinating connection between our minds and bodies when it comes to mindful eating. So, as you're enjoying your meal and as you take that first bite, imagine closing your eyes and focus solely on the flavors that dance on your palate. In that very moment, something incredible is happening, a dialogue between your mind and your body. Embracing mindful eating is like opening a direct channel of communication between these two vital aspects of ourselves, our mind and body. By tuning in, yeah, our body, our physical sensations, emotions, and hunger cues, we actually bridge that gap that often separates us, as often separates what we think we want to eat and what our body truly needs. So think about it, right? When you're stressed, do you notice any changes in your eating habits? I know some of us do, right? I met many of my clients that says that when they're stressed, they tend to eat more, or sometimes some of them don't eat at all. And perhaps you reach for comfort foods without giving it much thought. So, this is where the mind and body connection plays a role. Mindful eating invites you to acknowledge these emotional triggers and helps you make conscious choices rather than being controlled by them, right? So, let's talk more about our hunger cues. I believe we have all experienced that moment when our stomach growls, signaling hunger. But how often do we confuse true hunger with other sensations like boredom or stress? So this mindful eating actually encourage us to distinguish between genuine physical hunger and emotional cues. So this allows us to respond with nourishing foods when our body truly needs them. Now, let me just share with you. Here's the real magic. By actually becoming attuned to our body's needs, we will make informed decisions about what and how much we eat. Like one of us mentioned just now, when they are attuned to what they're eating, they tend to make healthier choices. So, similarly, when you're attuned to your body, we make informed decisions about what and how much we eat. When we're genuinely hungry, and we nourish ourselves with food that actually provides sustenance. And when we're satisfied, we honor that feeling and we stop eating, preventing overeating. So, have you ever experienced that moment when you realize, hey, you were actually eating for reasons other than hunger? Perhaps you're eating because you're bored, perhaps you're eating because you're stressed, or maybe some of you have discovered how being in tune with your bodies has transformed the way you approach your meals. Yeah. So, I see that um, some of us, Muhammad Farah mentioned that sometimes when he solo eats and hungry, he will enjoy the meal and not do anything else. Yeah, so that's mindful eating. And Andy mentioned that he stress snacking chocolate. So that's when you realize that your emotional component actually plays a role in what you eat, right? The mind and body connection. So now let's go to section two, mindful eating and weight management. So you can go to the poll and see how often do you experience guilt or negative emotions related to food choices. Hmm. So, yeah, I think some of us already answered this previously. We can see. Yeah, I just want to see how often do our member audiences actually felt guilty when they eat. Sometimes, some of us answered always. Yeah. Okay. I hope that um, after this session, we no longer feel guilty or having any negative emotions related to our food choices. Yeah? Okay. So let's look on how to actually build a positive relationship with our food. Okay. I want you guys to imagine a world where the foods that we eat are no longer labeled as good or bad. Instead, every bite that we take becomes an opportunity to embrace nourishment and savor the joys of eating. This is the transformative power of mindful eating, a pathway to building a positive and nurturing relationship with food. So let's dive into this beautiful concept together, right? Mindful eating is a departure, right, from rigid diets that often come with a sense of guilt and restriction. So traditionally, when we label a food as good or bad, and this made us feel guilty or having negative emotions when we eat those foods because we think we are making bad choices for our body. So when we depart from this rigid mindset, it's actually an invitation to approach food with compassion and curiosity rather than judgment. Right? So what we do just now, labeling something as good or bad, is actually a judgment. So, by choosing this approach, by choosing to be compassionate and to be curious, we free ourselves from the confines of strict rules, and we also opened up a world of mindful exploration for ourselves. So, I want you guys to think about a time when you first taste a perfectly ripe piece of fruit or indulge in dessert without feeling a hint of guilt. So that's the essence of mindful eating. It allows us to appreciate food for what it truly is: source of nourishment, pleasure, and connection. So, in this practice, in mindful eating, we begin to embrace the inherent qualities of food, understanding that each item on our plate has its own role to play in our overall well being. We no longer fall into the trap of categorizing food as good or bad. Instead, we focus on the holistic experience of eating. We pay attention to the colors, the aromas, and the delightful textures and the explosion of flavors. Hmm. By having this healthier mindset toward eating, we open up ourselves to a world of possibilities. I want you guys to imagine approaching a meal with excitement, wondering how the various ingredients will dance together on our taste buds, right? So this mindset shift doesn't just impact the way we eat, it also ripples into how we view ourselves. We tend to be kinder to ourselves when we show compassion in what we eat rather than judgment. Now, recognizing hunger and fullness cues. Um, yeah, one of the most profound gifts of mindful eating is its ability to transform the way we approach portion sizes. Right? It's a mixture of self-awareness where we learn to listen to our body's cues, respond accordingly. So this mixture is actually what sets the stage for portion control like you've never experienced before. By attuning ourselves to our hunger and fullness cue, we unlock the power to prevent overeating, right? If you are not attuned to your hunger and fullness cues, what you tend to do is you tend to take more than what you need, and you then tend to eat more. Imagine, I want you guys to go back because a lot of us, I think, can relate to this, right? When we are younger and when our parents pour the rice and put the meals onto our plate. Remember when you tell your parents, hey, I don't want to eat this anymore. I think I'm full. But then remember what our parents said? No, finish it. It's your food. It's not nice to not finish your food. So that's the first lesson where we disregard what our body tells us, right? And then as this happens more and more as we grow up, we tend to be less sensitive to our body's cues. And then later, um, it become a ripple effect, and then we tend to overeat and more. So mindful eating bridges that gap, helping us to become more mindful of our body's needs. And aside from that, it also empowers us to appreciate the art of moderation. I see that says here, eat everything in moderation. Exactly. Yes. It's not about restriction or deprivation. It's about releasing every morsel and knowing when you reach a state of satisfaction, right? Knowing when you are already full or when you don't want to eat anymore. That's attuning yourself to your body's cues. So when you are attuned, portion control becomes an effortless act. You don't need to calculate your calories. You don't need to, every time you eat, feeling guilty, knowing, oh, this is probably something that I shouldn't eat. Because when you're attuned to your body's cues, you will know um, without actually monitoring all those things. But of course, all of this takes time and practice. It doesn't just happen overnight. So think about a time when you finish a meal feeling uncomfortably full. I'm sure a lot of us experience this, right? We eat too much and then we feel so full, probably cannot stand up or we cannot even sit down comfortably, almost as if that we've ate too much and gone a step too far, right? Now, imagine a different scenario when you finish your meal feeling content and energized, fully aware of your body's signal. How long has since this how long since you felt this feeling? You felt energized, you felt content when you eat your meal. So this is the promise of mindful eating in action. Yes, buffet, when you eat your buffet Ramadan, after buffet, a lot of people say that we tend to feel uncomfortably full because the mindset at the time is that we paid for the meal and all you can eat buffet, so why not eat everything, right? But that is also a practice of mindless eating. We are disregarding our body's cues, and as we do this more and more, like I mentioned previously, we become less attuned to our body's needs, and it will become harder to detect our body's cues after that. Now, another tips is to slow down to savor. So we know that with our modern lives, right? The act of eating can easily just become another task to check off our ever growing to do list, right? Okay, I'm doing my work now. Okay, it's lunchtime. I just need to eat, right? It has become a to do list. We find ourselves caught in a cycle of fast food, quick bites, and also hasty meals, right? We eat fast because We need to squeeze our meals between meetings and appointments. If we don't eat now, the next time that we eat is at 8 p.m., right? But what if there was a way to infuse a sense of tranquility and fulfillment back into our meals? Wouldn't that be nice? So, this is where the practice of mindful eating steps in. It invites us to embark on a journey of savoring the present moment. Right? It is an invitation to hit the pause button on life's frantic pace, right? It also serves as a reminder that each meal is a precious gift, deserving of our full attention and appreciation, right? Your meal is a precious gift, not a to do list. So, by embracing mindful eating, we grant ourselves the luxury of slowing down and savoring each bite as if it were a work of art, right? If we think of our food as a gift, we will appreciate it more rather than considering it a to do list. Because if we regard our food as just another to do list, then of course, we'll just need something to check off the list. We will not be appreciating of our meal. So, in this mindful moment, we chew deliberately, right? Chew slowly. This allows our taste buds to detect the symphony of flavors, and that when these happen, we take notice of the way our food feels against our tongue, the texture of it, and the way it evolves as we continue to chew. Usually, the texture of a food will change, um, and these heightened awareness, right? When we aware of the changes of the texture, when we are aware of the flavor of the food as we eat, right? When this happens, we have a heightened awareness. So this heightened awareness not only enhances our dining experience, of course, but it also serves as a safeguard against overeating. So here's the fascinating part. As we release each bite, our brain then begins to send signals of satisfaction. So, by slowing down and giving our brain the time it needs to process these signals, we then create a natural barrier against overindulgence, right? We find ourselves stopping at a point of contentment. When we are content with what we eat, we feel happier, and we also provide our body with the nourishment it requires. Of course, right? 100%. Now think back to those rush meals. I know a lot of people, I saw like those people answered the poll that when you eat, is usually in front of a screen or doing other activities. Now think back. I want you to think back to those rush meals where you barely had a moment to taste what you were eating. Contrast that with the mindful meals where you truly engage with your food. Okay, compare those two moments. How did each experience make you feel physically and mentally? By embracing mindful eating, we give ourselves the opportunity to step out of life's frantic pace and into a realm of serenity and also fulfillment. It's a practice that reminds us that every meal is a chance to be fully present, right? Mindful eating is about being fully present, savor the flavor of life, and to nourish our body and soul. So, what was it like for you? I want you guys to share. What was it like for you to slow down and truly savor each bite? Do you notice any differences in how you felt after your meal? You can answer in the chat and see. Yeah, compare the moment where you are eating in a rush and compare the moment when you truly savor the the meal that you eat. How does that differ in terms of your emotions, your physicality, your the way you appreciate the food. Mm, yeah, I agree. So Siti Mariam said that it makes her feel good when she savors the food and definitely more happy, of course. When you appreciate your food and when you consider your food as a precious gift, remember, yeah, not everyone have a meal at every point that they want. Some has to wait to eat, but for most of us, we are thankfully can eat whenever we want, right? So of course, this is actually a precious gift. And then Sakina said that she feels full when she is aware um, of what she eats. Okay, Ruben said the food has to be good first in order to savor it. Agree. So how do you know all of these things? You need to be attuned to your body, and only with being attuned to your body that you know, oh, what food that I like, what food that I don't like. Mm. Rosa said she can't savor when she is sad. Understand? No stress with food. Mm. I can taste the food much better, but at the end of the meal, I will be checking my time and rush back to my routine. It's okay, Eleni, because what's important is that you do it, and then as you do it, you get better at it, right? So now let's go to the practical tips for mindful eating and weight management, right? I think this is what we've been waiting for. Number one, mindful meal planning and preparation. So mindful eating actually begins even before we take the first bite. Yeah. Engaging in mindful meal planning and preparation allows us to choose foods that truly nourish our bodies. Consider the nutritional value and taste of our meals and appreciate the process of cooking and presenting our dishes with care. And if you do not prepare your own meal, you can you can always plan your meal and appreciate the effort put into your meal by others. Mindful eating isn't just confined to the moment when we sit down to savor a meal, right? No, it's not just that. It's a journey that begins long before our forks touch our plates. It starts with a deliberate act of mindfulness, right? We want to be mindful, right? It starts with meal planning and preparation. So these actually sets the tone for the mindful nourishment that follows. When you already plan what you want to eat, for example, you already know that you are gonna have a lunch, so you already pre- plan on what to eat for your lunch. So that's actually a mindful act. So this allows us to infuse intention, care, and thoughtfulness into every aspect of our eating experience. This mindful meal planning invites us to also consider the nutritional value of each dish. You weigh not only the taste, right? I know, Ruben, yeah, not only the taste that will delight your palate, but also the balance of macronutrients and micronutrients that will, number one, energize and two, sustain us. Because if we eat too less, or if we eat the same meal every day, we might become starving. I'm sure you've heard of an influencer that passed away because she in a way starves herself, right, to death. So mindful meal planning helps us to know the balance of macronutrients and micronutrients that will energize and sustain us. So as we curate the meals, we actually crafting a menu that speaks to our body's needs and desire. So when you go for lunch after this, or maybe right now, you can think of like, what do I want to eat for lunch? Is it nutritious for my body? Can it provide sustenance for me? So if you think it that way, that's actually already mindful eating in action. And then comes the art of preparation. The chopping, the salting, and blending that transforms raw ingredients into the creations of delight. So in this process, you connect with the sensory experiences of cooking if you cook. If you don't, Think about this when someone prepares a meal for you. So the sound of that sizzling, the aroma of the herbs, and the vibrant hues of each vegetables. So each step actually becomes an opportunity to be fully present, to savor the journey of transforming ingredients into nourishment. So if you look at people who loves to cook, who finds cooking as a hobby, you find that they actually enjoy every step of the meal preparation journey. They don't just enjoy the taste, they actually enjoy seeing the colorful veggies. They enjoy putting in all the herbs and the smell of the flavors of the meal while we actually preparing it. So that's also mindful eating in action. And then as you carefully plate your meal, arranging each element with a touch of mindfulness, and then the colors harmonize, the textures complement each other, and the presentation of our meals reflects the care that we've invested. So as you sit down to enjoy, you're not just nourishing your body, you're engaging in a mindful experience that encompasses every aspect of the meal. So incorporating mindfulness into our meal planning and preparation is an act of self love, right? It's a reminder that the nourishment that we provide ourselves extends just beyond calories and nutrients. It's a holistic experience that touches our senses, our mind, and our soul. The hardest questions is what I want to eat, harder than sitting for an exam, huh? This is a good one because I know a lot of people they want to eat but they don't know what to eat. Why do you think this happens? Think back of everything that we learned so far and you will know why you don't know what to eat. Okay? So now let's go to the next slide. Create a mindful eating environment. Hmm. So this relates back to sitting in front of our computer, right? I want to ask how many of us actually eat at a specific area just for eating? I know that many people, like the poll represent, eats in front of the computers or work laptops or in front of the phone watching YouTube. So how many of us actually have a specific place just to eat? You can say me in the chat, or you can say not me if you don't. Yeah, I'm glad that a lot of um our audiences today really have a specific area to eat. This is good. Mm. Okay. So why is this important, right? Creating a mindful eating environment designates a quiet and comfortable space for eating free from distractions. You turn off your electronic devices, and this includes TV. Yeah? And I know, like, for people with kids, it can be harder when you turn off the TV. But this can also teach your kids to be mindful of their food. Turn off the TVs and focus solely on the meal before you. And this creates a serene eating environment that promotes a mindful dining experience. So when you designate a calm, a tranquil, and comfortable space for your meals, it's like laying a foundation for a symphony of mindful dining. It's a deliberate act. You purposely do this to communicate your commitment to being fully present and engaged with your food. In this space, the colors, aromas, and textures of your meals actually come to life and invites you to experience them in all their richness. Think about your favorite cozy corner, right? And most of us have a spot where natural light pours in, casting a warm glow on our plate. So that's actually your oasis of mindful nourishment. So as you settle in, you leave behind that distractions that often tug at your attention. It's a gift, yeah? Our meals is a gift, and that experience is a gift to ourselves. Now, eat with all your senses. This is what we've been talking about Engaging your senses in the act of eating transforms it into a sensory of symphony, a feast not just for your body but for your entire being, right? It's a practice that calls upon each sense to contribute to the symphony of flavors, textures, and also experiences that unfold before you. It's a practice. Practice means every day. It's a deliberate act. We purposefully do it. So, take a moment when you eat, when you have a meal in front of you. Take a moment to observe the colors on your plate. Notice the vibrant greens or the deep reds or the bright yellows. These colors are not just aesthetics, they are a visual preview of the nutrients and flavors that each ingredient brings. Let your eyes feast before the taste buds do. And then close your eyes and inhale. Let the aroma of your meal envelop you. The scent of the herbs, the earthiness of the grains, and the hint of the spices. I know we love spices. So each scent carries with it a story, a memory, and a promise of what's to come. So smelling your food prepares your senses for the journey ahead, right? And as you pick up your utensil, you feel the texture of the food against your skin. Is it smooth? Is it grainy? Is it crisp? Or is it tender? Each texture has its own role in the culinary tale, in our eating experience. So when we appreciate the textures, we're engaging not only our sense of touch, but our sense of curiosity. And most importantly, the taste, right? Take a bite and savor the flavors as they unfold on your taste buds. Is it sweet? Is it savory? Is it tangy? Or is it umami? So you let the flavors linger, appreciate the complexity and the harmony they create. So in this moment, your sense of taste actually takes a center stage. Now, last but not least, practice portion control. Portion control is about finding that delicate balance between enjoying your food and honoring your body's signals. And here's the mindful secret: it's not just about what size is your plate, it's about the size of your awareness too. So, plate size, opting for smaller plates isn't about deprivation, yeah? It's about sending a signal to your brain that your meal is actually satisfying and complete. Smaller plates, it creates an illusion of a fuller plate, which can contribute to a sense of satiety. And then, as you savor the taste, think about the times you rush your meal, barely tasting what you're eating. Portion control invites you to slow down and taste the flavors, savor the experience, pay attention to the nuances that make each bite unique. This connection with our food is the essence of mindful eating. And then mind over matter. Portion control is not a restrictive rule, okay? It's a practice that empowers us to be in control of our choices. Instead of thinking it as a restriction, think of it as a choice, as we having the power to control what we eat. By being mindful of portion sizes, you are taking a step towards nurturing your body. Oh, we have another one. My bad. Identify emotional eating triggers. So, becoming mindful of emotional eating triggers empowers us to respond to emotions in a healthier way instead of turning to food. Number one, you need to be aware that you are actually eating because you're stressed, or eating because you are angry, or because you are sad. So, this is awareness number one. So when you are mindful of your emotion, you are mindful of your eating triggers. This then empowers you to respond to these emotions in a healthier way. So when you are aware, instead of turning to food for comfort, you will then find alternative ways to cope with the stress or boredom or other emotions. Engaging in activities like walking, journaling, or actually talking to a friend can help also in managing emotional eating. In conclusion, mindful eating offers a transformative path to weight management and a more nourished body and mind by savoring each bite, recognizing our hunger and fullness cues by tuning ourselves to our body. Remember the mind and body connection, and building a positive relationship with food. We embrace a balanced and sustainable approach to eating. Mindful eating is a practice. You always need to do this. It's a deliberate act, a journey that unfolds over time. As you practice it, you'll get better over time, right? Be kind to yourselves and embrace progress over perfection. It's okay if you don't make the best decision right now. In the next meal, do a better decision, right? It's a progress. As you embark on this journey of mindful nourishment, you'll find that mindful eating not only supports weight management but also enriches your overall well-being. So our last poll for today before we go to Q&A. Would you consider incorporating mindful eating techniques into your daily routine for weight management and overall well-being? You can answer the poll at the right hand side. No? Can people actually press answer the poll? Because I see nobody's answering. Hmm. Yes. Yes. I love that more of us are actually open now to give it a try. Yeah. If you cannot give it a try to all your meals, at least be mindful of what you want to eat. You plan beforehand. And then, yeah, thank you, Alif. I love to try mindful eating now. Mm. I love the positiveness of your the enthusiasm that you have. Okay, that's great. That's great. So now we can go to our let's try mindful eating this lunch. That's good, Simon. Yes, let's do it this lunch. After this 12 p.m. and you go for lunch, you can try those activities just now. So for some Q&A, if you have any questions, you can ask in the chat. I think I saw one question just now. Somebody asked, how long does our brain recognize that we are full, right? So approximately around 20 minutes. So that's why if you eat too fast, you tend to feel hung not hungrier, sorry. You tend to feel unsatisfied with your meal, and then you go on snacking or overeating. So that's what happens. So if you choose slowly, really take your time to appreciate your meals, appreciate the flavors and textures. 20 minutes is a good amount of time for your brain to recognize, and then you'll feel satisfied and full. Nelly said it's too slow. That's okay, Nelly. It's good. It means that you chew slowly and you give your body time to appreciate the food. What is your advice when we go to Kuching Food Festival, which is happening throughout the month of August? Um, okay, so you go to a food festival. So let me relate you with one of my experience, right? I went to a festival before, a Bon Udari festival. So when I go to this festival, number one thing that I want to see is what are the foods that is different than what actually easily available. So this relates to the food festival. You can try whatever that you want to try, right? But make sure that it's only trying. You're not overindulging yourselves, right? Make sure that when you are choosing what you want to buy, when you want to eat, you are also aware of what nutrition that it brings to your body. So when you think about it this way, you will make a healthier choices and a better choices for you and your body. So that is my advice. think before you buy your food. But it's okay to try. You can also share it with your friends or your partners. That way, you can both try the food and enjoy the food together, become a more meaningful experience. When is our body digestion time at night? Thank you for asking the question, Christine. Actually, our body digestion actually starts when they so there's no specific time for body's digestions. Whenever you eat, and then after your brain registered that you eat, the digestion then starts, right? So if you eat at night, um, then your body has to digest your food at night. So what happens is that this can make you become it can make you harder to sleep. So I've talked about this topic before, nutrition and sleep. So when this happens, you can go to sleep, but your sleep can be interrupted, or it will not be as good quality as when you don't eat near to your sleeping time. Mm. Thank you, Simon. Yeah. Melissa, if we are used to watching TVs or videos when we're eating, how to slowly break this need for entertainment while eating? Um, and Mika, I think you can answer for Cecilia, right? So Malati, yeah. So when you are used to eating in front of TV, what you want is what actually? What you want is some sort of a distraction or a companion. What you can start doing first, instead of watching TV, you can start because we need to slowly break from this habit. You can start playing white noise, right? So white noise can help you feeling less alone, and then can help you focus on your meals too. So um, you can try to Google more about white noise and how it can help you to be more focused on your meal while eating. Mm. If you eat by yourself or with friends, does it affect mindful eating? Yes, normally with friends, we tend to keep on socializing. Okay, so the thing about mindful eating is the holistic experience of it. What do you feel when you eat with your friends? You will feel usually happy, right? I mean, in certain circumstances, might not, but most of the time, we'll feel more happy when we are eating with friends. So remember, mindful eating starts way before than just sitting down and eating, right? So remember to plan before you eat. And then when you are already sitting down with your friends, it's okay to keep socializing. Um, and also being attuned to your body at the same time. You might not be able to pay attention to the colors, the textures, and the flavors because you are also socializing with your friends. But remember, it's a holistic experience. So but you can still be attuned to your hungers and also your contentment, your satiety, right? So it's still okay. Yeah, it does affect mindful eating, but not in a bad way, because remember, mindful eating is a holistic experience. I always have craving for food. How do I overcome it? So number one, if you always have craving, you need to know what your triggers are. Okay, is it your emotional? Is it just biological? And if you know this craving, then only you can overcome your craving for food. What mindful eating can help you is that when you are mindful of your body's needs, you will then know, hey, I actually do not want to eat. I'm probably just bored, or I'm probably just stressed, right? Remember our previous slide, right? Craving is another signal that your body is telling you that there is a need that is unfulfilled. So that's why we need to know the trigger. Knowing the trigger can help us to make better decision on what we should act. Okay. Mm. So yeah. So Wangku say it's true. Having GERD, but I always eat near his sleep time. So sometimes it disturbs his sleep during night. So it's either hot heat burn or around his chest or throat or bad coughing. Yes. Why when I get sick, I always craving for food? Similarly, Rosaika and Cecilia. Um, so craving is a signal that your body sends you to show that there is an unfulfilled need, right? Hmm. So knowing what your body wants is the mindful experience of it all. That's the general answer that I can give for now, Cecilia. If there is no more question, okay, I think Mika can do for this part, or I can just share. So right now, Naluri has a Step It Up challenge during the whole month of August. You can scan the QR code and join the Step Up challenge because you can win up to 108 US dollar worth of vouchers. So do not miss this opportunity. Hmm. So I guess that's all. Thank you so much for joining our session today, our webinar. I hope all of you gain something and can practice this mindful eating in your daily eating routine. Okay, thank you so much, and I see you next time. Bye bye. Yes.